Okay. So in college, I worked with this guy named Kyle. Kyle was pretty memorable. Half his head was shaved and he had a biomech tattoo on his scalp, so you couldn't miss him. And one day I got a call at work saying that my uncle had collapsed and he probably wasn't gonna live much longer. And the next day, Kyle offered to take my morning shift so that I could go say goodbye to my uncle. So I spent the next day at the hospital with my family. At one point, they took my uncle away for some tests, and we decided to go get lunch across the street at a Panera Bread. I walk in, and sitting there is Kyle. I panic because if he didn't cover my shift, we were both gonna get in trouble. Back then, the shift change hadn't been approved by a manager or anything. It was just us workers approving each other's shifts. So I come charging up to him, and he looks at me and just kind of blinks, confused. He greets me by name, but he's acting all drowsy, like he just woke up or is really high, and I'm freaking out because he should have been at work. I ask him why he isn't covering my shift, and he says, "I am covering your shift," figuring there was a miscommunication. I say, "The shift started 3 hours ago. It was the morning shift." And he repeats, "I am covering your shift." He still sounds really out of it, so I go over and ask my aunt if I could borrow her phone to call work. And while I'm gone, I see Kyle just kind of wander out of the restaurant. I make the call, and to my surprise, Kyle is the one to answer the phone in his normal voice. Like the Kyle that was sitting in front of me was not the Kyle that was on the phone. I get off the phone, and Kyle is by now nowhere to be seen. When I told Kyle about this, he told me a few other stories of people seeing him places he wasn't or places he couldn't be. Some of them really creeped me out, but this one time he was supposed to be working a closing shift, and the person who was supposed to be covering his closing shift called in sick. So Kyle gets a call from a manager asking him to come in early to cover the shift. He gets there, and he clocks in, but he's clocked in for the morning shift. Apparently, he just looks at the manager and says, "It's 11 a.m., I'm supposed to start at noon." The manager freaks out and runs to the computer to check the schedule, and sure enough, it says that Kyle was supposed to start at noon. But Kyle insists that he was already clocked in. They end up just giving him the shift because they needed someone to work. But he told me that the entire shift he was having these déjà vu moments. Like he would do a task, and then he would get this feeling that he had already done that task. And apparently he just kept having these moments the entire shift. He told me that he still thinks that there are some things that he just knows that he did, even though he never went to that place or those times. Still can't explain it.